Good hello and welcome back to the Politics Show Down Under, where we upset everyone regardless of their political affiliation. Tonight we have myself, Jonathan, for the loony left. We have Mitchell, who is clearly a foaming at the mouth right winger. David is the filthy centrist, and the 2D cartoon, formerly known as Tom Jones, exists.
Hi.
I'm getting some real Top Gear vibes from that intro.
Look, that's what I was going for.
And on this episode, Tom turns into a cartoon.
And Mitchell
fifth
finds
line.
out what happens when you drift an Imperator-class Titan into the Eye of Terror.
I wish I had.
That's a bit beyond our budget.
Look, I could probably sculpt one in 3D and do it. I mean, the animation budget's pretty much limitless. Which is why we're still not using any, because I'm a lazy piece of human garbage. But anyway, on to politics. Rather than my sheer incompetence, Victoria's having an election, and Twitter is still an absolute shit show that is thoroughly entertaining.
And Jono still hasn't made an account.
Jono still has not made an account and will not be making an account.
I
Because
had
I'll
to
make
make
you an account, Jono.
there's a very good chance that Twitter is just not going to exist very long, and I have two fun conspiracy theories about this.
Well, unlike Jono, I had to make an account so I could I could delve through the tweets of an account that was running a mod for a game that I follow. So yeah, it's the stupidest reason to make an account.
I know, I can think of a stupider reason. That you actually, want to be well informed about stuff.
That's true. Yeah,
That's
imagine doing
a
that.
much stupider reason. But yeah, so let's start with Twitter because that's mildly entertaining. Musk has gone and fucked everything up. Yep, we are past the 3-minute point, so we're fine. So my conspiracy theory about Twitter at the moment. Musk is actually an anti-capitalist, and he's been hoarding all of this wealth for all this time with one goal in mind: to buy Twitter and show exactly what happens to free speech when you let a billionaire run it. So I think it's gone pretty much exactly how I predicted it would go. He'd buy
Here's
it.
my tinfoil hat. You need this more than I.
Yes. So he bought it and then proceeded to go and screw everything up, break every promise that he'd made, and demonstrate he doesn't know what he's doing.
I did actually hear one interesting idea about the fact that he has been systematically burning through all of the staff, just firing people left, right, and center. So I think it's the Peter principle that 10% of people in an organization do 90% of the work.
I believe it. I've heard of that.
I mean,
I would be surprised.
We got taught that in business school. We then proceeded to be told that it was technically wrong in almost every single application.
Oh yeah, no, I don't believe that. I don't believe that 90% of people are layabouts, but you do have people who do more work than others. And what I had read, and I can't speak for its veracity, but what I'd read was that Twitter is engaging in a process called whaling and culling. So what he did is he set a completely impossible deadline and then saw who would work towards it. Those who actually worked towards it, he kept. And those who didn't even try, he just let go.
To be fair, he also got himself locked out of his own building, didn't he?
I hadn't heard that, but that sounds about right.
Because he fired all of the people that managed the swipe cards.
Yeah, actually, and he got his account suspended for 30 minutes or so because some employee was told he was fired before his access permissions were revoked.
Whoopsie.
Yeah, that's not good.
David, correct me if I'm wrong, but I also heard that there was an issue with like Twitter dropped out completely for Android users or something because they like turned off one of the background operations that was needed to make it communicate with Android properly.
They don't use Android.
No, I would have thought
You talking
David
to
would
me?
have. I thought David would have heard it because he's on Twitter more than I am.
No, I haven't actually been on really much at all.
No, fair.
My use of Twitter is generally around big events like, if I'm watching a Formula One or V8 supercar race, it can be entertaining then. You just follow the hashtag and everyone's talking about the same thing. So
Fair.
that's always fun. Bathurst 12 hour, Bathurst 1000. That's usually where I'll pick it up and want to look on it. But every day, it's not that interesting.
Look,
There's usually the thing I don't like is that every day there's an outrage about a new thing that's not that exciting.
there is an outrage about a new thing every day, and it's never exciting. Let's be honest about that.
I really don't care about them, so I'm like, I don't care about this. I don't want to know.
That's fair.
Yeah, I mean, my impression of Twitter is it's just people majoring in minors, so to speak. I could express that in better words. Caring way too much about the little things.
Yes. Well, look, then in that case, since everything with Twitter is hilarious, Victorian state election.
Jono, send me your email. I'll make you an account.
Please do not do that.
I need Jono's email. If anyone has it, I'll just
I
use
swear,
his
if
work
anyone
one.
sends jonathanstace@gmail.com to David, I'll be very upset with you. Damn it!
I'd be giving him the most hilarious tag or username as something like "I love Elon Musk." XOXO.
Oh look, please do, and I will just endlessly
Musk
post.
is my homie.
I'll look.
No, I got a better one. God bless the world with Elon Musk.
Oh, Tom, can I become a cartoon too? How'd you do that?
And broke my camera and lost it.
Well, look, in that case.
Going to get a hammer.
There we go. Focus. It's focusing.
There we go. Halfway there.
Oh look, no. If I ever had a Twitter account, there's only one name I could possibly give it. All hail our Lord and Savior Ben Shapiro. And I'm sure you can work out the content that would post.
I mean, that's the thing. If I made you a Twitter account, Jono, I could go and follow all your favorite people before you log into it too.
Please kill me now.
Musk, Crowder, Shapiro, Trump. Now that he's back.
Oh wait.
What?
Actually, is Trump actually back? Because I heard that yes, his account was technically reinstated, but also that he'd said he wasn't going to use it because he was way too invested in Truth Social.
That's about correct.
You can't stand not having the attention. We'll go back to it.
This is true.
Yeah, his account is technically back online.
Shame. Maybe he can go start World War III already. Actually, World War III almost happened, apparently, and the Australian media freaked out about it, saying it was a Russian missile that hit Poland, but I've since heard that it was not.
Yeah, I'm incredibly disappointed. I was so excited to play Fallout in real life.
So was I. I really want a plasma gun.
I'm not sure if someone's... I'm looking at Trump's Twitter profile right now, and his last tweet was on January 9th saying he was not going to the inauguration in 2021. So he hasn't used it. But interestingly, and I don't know exactly how it's working, his account has a verified tick.
Yeah, because it was verified beforehand.
It was, but to keep your verification, you've got to pay now.
No, they undid that.
Mm-hmm.
Did
they?
Yeah, because people were getting their hands on verified ticks way too easily, and pretending to be Elon Musk, and it was very funny.
Yeah, but that's really dumb. That people were pretending to be other people, but it was really dumb because it was technically the same as what Twitter is now. If I was, let's say, I was popular enough to pre the $8 whatever it was change, the Twitter blue change. If I already had a verified tick, I could just go and change my name from David to Jonathan.
Yeah, but by
Stace,
making
and,
it that you could
but my handle would still say the same. Heaps of people were doing it even before they could get blue ticks. Blue tick people were doing it.
Yeah, but it wasn't every Joe Blogs with $8 doing it, thinking they're funny.
Right.
Actually, speaking of Joe Blogs with $8 thinking they're funny, apparently Count Dankula changed his name to something funny. then there was the freeze on names.
Oh no, and it was stuck.
It's like my mum always said, if you make faces, it'll stay that way.
I think everyone's mum said that at one point. But look, I found this very funny. Also, it cost someone $8 to single-handedly tank the stock price of a major pharmaceutical company. For those that aren't aware, Eli Lilly, who make drugs, so they're basically drug dealers, clearly, and price gouge people that live in third world countries for penicillin, isn't it? Or insulin, that's it. They price gouge people in third world countries for insulin. They had to apologize, not for price gouging people, apologize to people that got their hopes up that this company would not be shitty people for once. And their stock price took a fairly harsh hit. And see, this is where my conspiracy theory that Musk is doing everything that he can to expose the weaknesses of capitalism. Because everything's so unstable, he's just like, look, let's just push things a little bit and just give the peasants the tools needed to just push things a bit more and just let everything go to shit.
He's always been a man that just enjoys being a meme, and now he's taken it to the extreme.
He is the extremist memist.
Yeah.
I'm going to put that on a shirt.
Currently, trending in Australia right now, Jono, is vote no. I have no idea what it's for.
Probably vote no to, I don't know, what's his name? Dan Andrews.
Heck no.
The media wants us to vote no to him, right? Because Victoria has an election this weekend. So here we go. Three New South Wales residents and a Queenslander commenting on Victoria's state election.
It must be something to do with students and education.
Oh. Okay.
Look, I can't speak to
that.
I would have thought the vote no might have been something about like the Indigenous voice or something like that.
Oh, wait, I know what it'd be. David, by any chance you're looking at Twitter on Internet Explorer? Because if that is the case, then it's gay marriage that he's looking at.
I'm on a Mac, so I'm definitely not on Internet Explorer.
What's going on with who's voting on gay marriage? Oh, is it the Philippines?
No, the joke
No,
being because he's on Internet Explorer because it's so slow.
Oh, a moron. I'm a moron.
Jokes are funnier when you have to explain them.
I mean, that's just Zoomer humor these days. Like, they have the explanation to the joke in brackets after it, and somehow it just makes it even funnier.
No, it makes it sadder. You're no longer laughing with them, you are laughing at them. Although, speaking of laughing at people and Victorian politics, Mitch, you knew something about something going on in Victoria.
Yes, apparently there's been a little bit of shenanigans regarding group voting tickets. Now, it has been known for a while among those who are politically in the know that if you want your minor party to be able to have a decent shot at representation, then you need to talk to the preference whisperer.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the WA and Victoria, the only states in Australia to use what we call group voting tickets. Now, we used to use them up until the 2016 election as well, federally. But after Ricky Moore from the Australian Motoring Enthusiast Party got
Such a
in
good
with
party.
like 89 votes, and I was so pleased to see that. Like, I wanted that so bad. The government was like, oh no, we can't have someone who received 89 votes having a federal Senate seat. And I'm just like, well,
Yes,
number
you
one,
can.
it was a double. Sorry, say again.
Yes, you can. It happened.
Yeah, well, it was a double
Give
dissolution.
the people what they want.
Yes, exactly.
We can't give the
Yeah.
people what they want. Then the peasants might start rising up against us. My
We
God.
won't have potholes.
Wouldn't it? Yeah, but they started saying, "Oh, it's a threat to our democracy that so many, the Ricky Muir got in with 89 votes," and it's just like, please. And now what you see is they got rid of the system that allowed minor parties to preference each other if they received a vote above the line. If their preference was if the preference was exhausted for the next one, it'd go to the next party, and so on and so forth.
And Victoria still uses that system, don't they?
As does WA.
Okay, that makes some of the things that I've seen made more sense, because I thought that they got rid of that nationwide back
No,
then.
they still have it in the States. Queensland doesn't have it because we don't have an upper house.
Fair.
I cry. So what recently? It wasn't an issue in the WA election. The Labor Party romped home to victory, and and all the people rejoiced. In the Victorian election, however, there was leaked video of the preference whisperer, a fellow by the name of Glenn Drury, talking about how he helps people get their preferences sent out and all of that sort of thing. And people are saying it's a gross abuse of democracy and all of that. But my thought is, like, if you want your preferences to go where you want them to, then maybe you should vote below the line.
Look, here's my thought on it. The parties should not have any say whatsoever on how your preferences go. I like the way that we do it federally, where vote above the line, below the line, doesn't matter. You get to pick what order the parties go in. That's the way it should be, and anything else is a perversion of democracy.
And you have the right to vote however you want in below the line as well. Like, your below the line preferences overrule the group voting ticket. Whereas if you were to just vote one, instead of your vote exhausting, it would then go to a party that your party nominated.
Which, I mean, if you trust your party is probably not a problem, but if you don't trust them.
Well, that's exactly it. And why would you vote for someone you don't trust?
This is true. But on
What
that
if you don't
note,
trust any of them?
there's that. That's a very good point. But why is it so hard to just have the parties above the line rather than voting for individual candidates below the line, and just be like, okay, put a 1 next to the box you want done first, 2 in the box you want done second, etc.
Oh, there's definitely that to be had as an argument. But the thing I like about the group voting ticket thing is it actually allows minor parties a decent shot of being in Parliament, especially in Victoria, where they don't have one ward like they do in New South Wales. In New South Wales, you just have to try and get 4%, and then you can get a senator in the upper house. That's basically the quota. Whereas in Victoria, you actually have wards.
That makes it more difficult.
Yeah, so unless they were if they were going to overhaul Victorian Senate rules so that all of Victoria was one ward, then I can see why it would make sense to get rid of group voting tickets. But if you're going to have it that senators represent a certain ward, then I think it makes sense to keep them in. Otherwise, you actually advantage the major parties, because that's exactly what happened in federal.
I suppose.
That's my thoughts anyway. Feel free to tear me a new one in the comments, guys.
Oh, and they will. The comments are absolutely on fire tonight.
People what?
We don't have any, do we?
Yeah, no, there's none there at all. That was sarcasm.
I think I
Look,
voted under the line once, and it took me like 5 or 10 minutes. And
yeah,
I was
that's
like, this is a bad
fundamentally
idea.
that's fundamentally the problem with voting below the line is Australians are really fucking apathetic when it comes to politics.
That's why I'm convinced that there are two things that I
Our
would accept.
politics ballot is like this long too.
Yeah, that doesn't help.
We call it the tablecloth
It's
for
like
a
vote
reason.
under the line, just number boxes 1 to 52.
1 to 152, more like it.
Mm.
And it gets
Oh,
longer
yeah.
every year, just like something else.
It's
And they expect you to do
is
that
it
after
wait,
waiting
is it
in line.
is it 71?
I don't know. It's too many. It's too many candidates.
It's 71, isn't it?
It's something like that. Look, I think we should just get rid of political parties altogether.
You know what? That
Dictatorship.
sounds great.
Just every candidate has to run on their own merits.
I think
No
we should
more
just
political parties.
I think we should just get rid of universal suffrage.
Look, we could always just go back to proper tribalism where there's a chief, or we could go full orc boy and just be like the biggest and the baddest boy gets to be the boss.
You know what? I'm totally in favor of that.
Let's just adopt the American system and get an electoral college.
Oh, fuck, that is such a shit system.
I knew Jono would love that.
I find it hilarious when people try to defend the electoral college, and they're like, "Oh, it's so good. It's to stop the tyranny of the majority." It's like, okay, so what you're saying is you want the tyranny of the minority?
I think it's more to it's more proportional representation for like it's a cross between the Senate and the House of Reps. You get people assigned by census data, and those electoral college members, they do change from state to state depending on the state's overall share.
It's like
Of
one for
population.
every. It's one for every like 400,000 plus 3 per state or something.
Something like that.
And as a result, you have states with less population get more. Their votes count for more in the electoral college, and it's supposed to stop big cities from controlling elections, but it has the opposite effects where you have a small number of people scattered throughout the country that end up controlling your elections. And then on top of that, the electors that are elected don't even have to vote for the person that they were elected to vote for.
Well, they don't have to, but they all do in like to begin with.
Generally,
Everyone
they do, but they don't have to. And the
Yeah,
whole idea of having a very small number of elitist people have the ability to override the will of the people if they so choose kind of seems to fly in the face of democracy.
Well, I think part of the problem with the electoral college in America is the winner takes all thing on state by state basis. Even if you win by 51%, that state, that party gets all the electoral college members for that state. However, Nebraska and I think New Hampshire actually have proportional. So depending on how many what the percentage is, like in New Hampshire, I think there's about 5 electors. No, Nebraska it is. Nebraska, there's 5 electors. And if like 20% of the state goes Democrat and 80% goes Republican, then the Democrats get at least one of those electoral college members.
Still a really stupid system.
Like,
just to change the topic and I put in our group chat, Jono, what's currently happening on Twitter, and I thought you might find the second one down a bit interesting.
What? Okay.
Trending in the UK.
We're not going to say that because we don't want to get cancelled by Elon Musk.
I mean, I can because I'm Jewish.
Okay, Mitch can read it out then.
Okay, it says, and I quote, trending in United Kingdom, hashtag Jews don't count, 6,568 tweets.
We're going to get cancelled by Ben Shapiro at any moment.
Okay, folks. The notion that Jews don't count ignores the fact that my wife's a doctor. Okay, folks.
I don't. You probably did notice. I think the topic had changed, but a little while ago, you probably saw me just look at the screen and be like, when I read that, I was
I
like,
didn't
"What
notice, but what the hell? What is wrong with the Brits today?
the?"
Oh,
See, Jono, you need a Twitter account.
I'm not. Look, if I get a Twitter account, I will spend all of my time up at the hospital having brain scans to make sure I haven't had a brain aneurysm.
I just use one to propagate stuff like that because it's funny.
Oh, look, it is mildly entertaining, but also this is just further evidence that Twitter is just cancer, absolute cancer.
mhm.
Cancer and crabs at the same time, like crabs with cancer. Why?
Do you want me to read you some tweets?
Sure, David's gonna. Here is
Why
David's tweeting rainbow. This will be good. I wish I had an
I'll
animation
go
for that.
into it and see what.
What do Jews not count
okay.
towards, David? Tell us. This is so stupid.
He's getting brain damage just from looking at it.
Maybe we're just reading into it wrong. It's saying they just can't count.
They
Well,
can
that
count.
doesn't make much sense. Isn't the stereo? Mitch,
They're trying to ruin that stereotype.
Mitch, you're great at accounting, right? And you're a banker.
I'm literally doing a financial advice course. So yes,
Look, there we go. Mitch, steering right into the stereotype.
it's saying that we don't count, not that we can't count.
Yeah, they're trying to deconstruct that stereotype. What a nice thing.
Oh, don't count versus can't count. So it's saying that you're intentionally miscounting things.
Yes, like the amount of shekels I'm due for my for my involvement in the worldwide cabal of I'm just not gonna go any further. I'm disgusted with myself for even making that joke.
Look, speaking of worldwide cabals, well, David is looking up very, very racist tweets that are going to get us
Just
banned
find the
forever.
worst one you can find.
I can't figure out the context of what's going on, but I'm assuming some documentary is aired. There's a quote here that says, "If you are mad that Jewish voices are discussing their own experience of Western anti-Semitism this evening in a documentary, you are part of the problem. Yes, you." I don't know.
I didn't know there was a
I'm assuming
documentary
a
discussing
documentary
that
is aired
anyway.
about.
Is the
What was that?
documentary called Jews Don't Count?
That would make sense.
Maybe.
Look, I'm going to switch Chrome into incognito mode.
Actually, I
Google's
wonder if
so
this-
not tracking you.
This has got to be a great idea for a segment for the show. Just bring up a no context hashtag.
Segment for the show. What's trending on Twitter today?
Oh god. There's a book. That's what comes up when you Google that. Times Magazine Book of the Year for 2021. I have no idea what's going on. Twitter is dumb.
Okay, apparently yes. I think that's what the documentary is called.
Okay, that's less terrible. Mitch, do you feel less genocide now?
I can't think of a funny joke off the fly.
I can't think of the way to make that funny.
Without sounding incredibly insensitive.
Well, luckily he died.
So yes, it's apparently a document. It looks like it's a documentary based on anti-Semitism today and Jewish people talking about it now.
Okay, look, that hashtag makes somewhat more sense, but that is not a good hashtag.
Maybe it's supposed to get your attention. Like I can tell you,
look, it got our attention.
Like I'm in some Facebook groups that are infested with tradcaths, and
What the hell is a tradcath? Actually,
traditional Catholic.
Okay, that's not as bad as I thought it was going to be.
The
where my
anti-Semitism
problem
from those guys is off the charts.
Oh, I can imagine they're Catholic.
Like it's crazy.
Oh, fun. Oh, look, speaking of words that I don't quite understand, something I've been thinking about today, that I wanted to flick you a message about, David, because I thought you might have some input on it. But I don't get everyone's objection to wokeness. And I feel like the word has been, and yes, I know this is completely out of left field, pun intended, but as far as I can tell, people on the left that are not insane don't use the term. And on top of that, as far as I can tell, all that it means is being aware that society could be better at a fundamental level.
I think it's
I think the
yeah.
I don't think that's how it's being used, because that doesn't make any sense.
The
I
meaning
think the
of it now
reason
is
people yes. I think the reason people are adverse to it is it originally was about what you say, Jono. You know, you're not insane. You're kind of, even though you're the loony left, yes, you're
That's more
not
just because I like
absolutely
taking the piss out of myself.
I think what happened there is it was originally a term used to describe, you know, like you say, the world could be better. We can be better. We can stop being X way or doing whatever thing that is racist, sexist, whatever.
Because yeah,
The left-wing version
drawing
of red
attention.
pill.
the only definition of it that I can find in the context, other than, you know, the past tense of being awake, is alert to racial prejudice and discrimination. And it's like,
yeah. The problem is it's gone the same way that feminism did. So feminism is fundamentally a good thing, and if you look up the meanings of it, it's a good thing. But it went where people were just trying to find things to be upset about and trying to be victims, and they've done the same thing with the woke movement, and it just gets tiring to listen to.
Yeah, like,
and I think what they did was they you know, like Tom said, they just went that little bit too far, and they also then flipped it, and it became very much it became a very anti whatever race, sex, gender. So it became, and that's where, you know, it became a very anti straight white man. Is ultimately where it landed. And I think that obviously it really stigmatized it. It ruined it. It kind of like feminism. It just took it that one step too far, where, like, yeah, you know, at the bedrock of what it meant, it was a sane and reasonable thing of we can do things better, but they just went overboard.
They go a little further and say, oh, all black people need safe spaces. That's segregation.
Yeah, like
that is segregation.
They've literally opened up like a new study hall that's black only, and it's like
exactly,
right,
yeah. Like it's like it went beyond what basically, it was originally intended.
If I've understood this correctly, because yeah, the only reason this came up was because of that thing that I threw in the chat earlier about actually, did I throw it in the chat? I put a few things in there about the anti-woke bank that went under, because it turns out that most people, when they're looking for financial services, don't give a shit about your political affiliations.
I think the thing we've got to remember is the four of us, we're on a political podcast talking about politics. They think we kind of have an interest in it. The average person, and especially like you said, Jono, in Australia, they really don't care.
They really don't.
And I think the wokeness thing was, originally it was a good thing. Most people were like, yeah, okay, whatever. But then when it went to the extreme and people started getting upset over trivial things, like Tom said, you know, segregating, and then pushing to be like, we need more black people in movies and more female power roles. And, you know, you go and see a movie, people now know, they're like, they only did that for the woke cred. They didn't do it because, and it's good, but at the same time they've tarnished it and ruined it, and people don't like. If you think about the average person, they don't like being told what to think. They don't like being told that the way they think. They don't like being told that they don't like political correctness and being told that the way they think is racist. And I think that's where I disagree with it, is they've kind of destroyed the term of anti-Semitism and racism, because now they've actually made it really easy for actual racist people to hide. And you can't determine who's actually racist because they've used the word so much. They've watered it down.
That is an issue that I do have with the authoritarian left, and I have to specify authoritarian left there, to just not to say that all of the left are authoritarian, but to distinguish them from the same part of the left that are not authoritarian. The people that want proper protection for workers and don't want us to fuck over our environment, but at the same time, don't really want people to be elected based off of the circumstances of the genitals they happen to be born with. I kind of forgot where I was going. It'll come back to me in a moment. But yeah, so authoritarian left, because they're authoritarians. It's not the left part that's the problem. It's the authoritarian part. Just like how I can get along with Mitch without a problem, and we disagree on some economic things, on the intricate little details of it, but at the end of the day, we agree on the big fundamental things of freedom, good. People probably shouldn't starve to death. And yeah, I think those are really the two main fundamentals. Life is preferable to death, and being able to make your own damn decisions is probably better than not.
I think a lot of people lose the understanding that most people agree on what the problems are. For example, is it a problem that black people in America systemically underperform every other ethnicity? Yes, it is. No one disagrees with this. The right thinks it's a problem, and the left thinks it's a problem. The left thinks it's a problem, however, because of systemic racism and economic discrimination. Whereas the right thinks of it as a cultural problem that's keeping black people from, achieving their fullest potential. Like, we agree on what the problems are, we just don't agree on the solutions. And I just wish we had the understanding that we do agree on the problems. We know this is a problem.
I think we agree on what the problem fundamentally is, but it's a slight definition of the cause of the problem is where the disagreement lies. And then that flows on into a disagreement on the solution. Because, you can agree that the overarching issue is a problem. Like, I think most people would agree that the planet warming up, just as a big example, probably not great. Except for, Patrick Moore, who thinks it's great and wants to drink weed killer, but that's a different topic. But you have a very, very small subset of One Nation supporters, right wing, that are determined that the science is wrong on this. And then there's the rest of the population that goes and be like, hey, yeah, this is fairly well researched, and we've known about this for over 100 years now.
Well, I think you're talking about global warming there, but when you talk about more social issues, like I guess Mitch's example of black people underperforming in whatever thing, if you've got one side of politics saying, well, we think it's cultural, and you can also compare you compare white Americans or typical Americans to Asian Americans. Now, if I think it was found if universities were picking the actual best performing people to go into their universities, they'd nearly be almost all Asian, because that culture is just dominating in engineering and STEM fields because they're really pushing it. And so how do we solve that problem becomes a bit different, especially if you've got the left there saying, well, this is actually just structural racism and it's being caused by all of this patriarchy, whatever that is, pushing down and, I can't think of the word, but discriminating against black people and making them, they can't get ahead. And, one can argue that there are things that are, like we all know capitalism, you typically, I think I've mentioned on another podcast, another episode about the, is it Matthew's law, privilege begets privilege. So if you start not unprivileged, it's pretty damn hard to break out of that.
Yeah, it's the classic example.
I think that's what you get. You got one saying culture, one saying the whole structure's broken. And so they want to fix the whole structure, which the other party disagrees is even the problem.
When really the problem is education's too expensive.
This is true. Education is very expensive.
Very
I get reminded about it every time I do my taxes. It's very sad. Yeah, Mitch gets reminded about it harder though.
Yeah, I'm 100,000 in the hole at this point. I've just
six
accepted I'm
figures.
never going to pay it back.
So, Mitch, what you're saying is you're a parasite on the system, and Ayn Rand is rolling over in her grave. She's dead as
yeah, but also screw Ayn Rand. So
I got to clip that out of context later.
I mean, not literally, not like Alan Greenspan screw Ayn Rand, but
well, it doesn't matter what you meant.
It doesn't matter what you meant. I'm clipping that out of context. But yeah.
Well, Jono, you asked me a question, Jono.
Yes.
On why people are adverse to wokeism. Can you define for me then what is the patriarchy?
The patriarchy.
No, you're not Googling it.
I'm not Googling it. I'm trying to think of the right words to use.
As a loony left yourself.
As far as a structured definition is concerned, and I'm using these extra words in here to try to think of the right words to use because I'm rapidly rummaging through boxes in the back of my head trying to find this definition.
It doesn't matter what you say. I'm just going to accuse you of mansplaining.
He is going to be accusing me of mansplaining, which will be hilarious because the implication of that, given that David asked the question, is that David is trans. But patriarchy is a hierarchical structure that puts white men at the top of the hierarchy and gives them innate advantages that others don't get. Purely because of the circumstances of their birth. Actually, I'm going to Google it now and see how close that was.
No, you're pretty accurate. I Googled it while you were talking.
I'm Googling it now.
I'm yet to see these advantages.
Some
I'd like
thinkers
to take advantage of them though.
Look,
like
Tom, I've got an excellent video I'll send you later on that one. But
I may watch it.
It's a pretty good video. It's by a guy that used to be in the US Army. And he steers right into the skin on it and dyes his hair blue as a bit of a joke and everything. But it's not so much patriarchy is not so much about the advantages that white males get. It's more about those advantages that everyone else doesn't get. And the example that Knowing Better, which is the guy who made the video I'm referencing, speaks of in his video, is that when he spent a period unemployed, he had to apply to X number of jobs before he found something. Under the modeling of patriarchy, if you were a woman or had a black name or something, you would have to apply to so many more jobs. It's not so much that you have an advantage, it's that you're not subject to these disadvantages that other groups are subject to.
But I'd also suggest, when it comes down to it,
kind of
that
an advantage.
This system of patriarchy, as they like to call it, some thinkers like to call it the kyriarchy, and they extrapolate the social ills of the patriarchy to all kind of leadership structures sort of thing. It's been a while since I've looked into it. For example, when they did the test on names, if you had a black name versus a white name, they also found, because they actually tested, they didn't just test black names, they tested legacy black names and also hood black names. They also tested upper class white names and trailer trash white names. And they found that the trailer trash and the hood were treated much the same, and the legacy black people and the upper class white people had much the same advantages as well. And here's where I come at it, where I think it's much more about class than I think it's about race.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah, you basically landed what I was going to say next, Mitch. I was going to say, there's nothing in the term patriarchy that I've seen that isn't more so attributed to classism and the privilege given by the class you're born into, not so much
So
the
what
color
you're saying
of
in
your
this,
skin.
Mitch, that you think Marx is correct.
Absolutely. As a system of interpreting history, I think Marx is incredibly illuminating. As a basis for government, I think it's dog crap.
I think it has.
I think,
good
Tom,
elements.
you went to say something?
No, I was just agreeing. And on a personal experience level, I can't say I've seen any of that. Like for example, there's been like 2 jobs that I've applied for in my life that I didn't get, and the first one I lost it to a woman, the other one it was to an Aboriginal. So I don't see, like, in my personal experience, I haven't seen any advantage or disadvantage for them.
Well, I mean, how many jobs did you get a call back on because you had a white-sounding name and someone with a black-sounding name didn't get a call back on? I mean, your personal experience can't really give you that information.
Yeah, not 100%.
That's the point. That's the point
for a while. At uni,
that's the point that I think
females get more.
I know the point you're making, John. I used to work with a guy. Sorry, Tom.
Oh, no, you go. Yeah.
I said, I know the point you're making, John. I used to work with a guy who had ultimately a made-up name, but his name was French. He was from Canada. So he was full, European white guy, Canadian, but he had a French. It was a made-up. His name was technically made up, and but it was French. And when he came here to Australia, he actually had that on his resume, and then he ended up abbreviating his nickname that everyone called him and put that on his resume, and suddenly started getting more calls back. So
probably just because he was French. I wouldn't employ him either.
Well, how very British of you, Mitch. Fair.
I mean, Tom just puts Tom Jones just to,
Tom has a very, very aggressively average white boy name.
All I can say is it's not unusual.
Although to be fair, I also have I have a very white name.
Don't we all?
Yes, this is true. Except for Mitchell, his name's weird.
It's Scottish. So yes, it's weird.
Oh, speaking of Scottish, I expect you all to refer to me as Lord Jonathan now, by the way.
Oh, he got the land.
I did a thing.
Yeah, you know why that
Did you do that thing?
I do know why that works. It is fantastic. The bit I am disappointed about, though, is that in the state of New South Wales, you cannot put titles on your driver's license.
Oh, that's
They don't accept titles. It's Mr., Miss, Ms., or Mrs.
Not even doctor. Interesting.
Not even doctor. Which is why I'm legally changing my first name to the and my last name to Doctor. So I'll be Lord the Doctor.
Just shuffle your name along, make your first name Lord, and then just make your middle and surname.
Look, I'd probably do it too because I'm funny. And I find this mildly amusing.
And when you get the new license, you have to be wearing the colander.
Here you go, Tom. How's this for a definition of patriarchy? A system of society or government in which men hold the power and women are largely excluded from it.
I wouldn't really call that a definition. Like, I don't think they're actually excluded.
Yeah, I'd agree. Not excluded, but certainly maybe not able to access the same advantage. And like women do have a place in a patriarchal society. Their place is subservient, but they do have a place.
I think it's a case of you can't have a perfect world where everything's even. So you're always going to have areas where there are more of one race or gender.
Look, careful, Tom. I do not like anything that is not even. Like especially
equal opportunity. And that's it.
Especially the dial on my radio. I cannot stand it when that's not even.
I feel that it can't be a prime number for me.
A prime number. Interesting. So I can't stand that if it's not even, or if 5's acceptable because it's halfway between 0 and 10, and 10s are acceptable, but they're even, so that's fine. 5's the only odd number that's fine, and whenever I'm eating gummy worms, they also have to be even. So
I get very annoyed by 9s.
Ooh,
you're just making life way too hard.
Look, David and Tom, I'm sure that you saw what I did when I was stressing out over the weekend. I went and spent hours sculpting in Blender, and I did it the hardest way I possibly could, to the point that I had to go back and kind of restart because I realized I'd made a mistake earlier on and had to completely change the workflow. Everything has to be as difficult as possible. This is a true fact.
What you were saying before, I was going to say before, to what Mitch said around, or maybe Tom, I can't remember, around patriarchy on women being or not having the same opportunities. And I'm being a bit of a devil's advocate here, but is that changing? I think the stats are showing now that majority of universities are going to be having female graduates over the next few years, given most men are dropping out of university and not going to university.
That is a significant thing.
It's actually quite a massive change in what it used to be of, I know we only recently really ramped it up probably in the 90s where women started going to uni much more equally as men, but now we've had a flip side after the 2010s, and it's now very much flipping the opposite way.
And I would argue that's not a problem because it's a thing of men tend to just like doing more physical work, and that's the exact same thing that keeps women from being in the construction industry. It's not a sexist thing, it's just they tend, not all of them, but it has the majority to not want to do that kind of thing. That's why you have, no men in daycare.
I beg to differ.
Yeah, I was going to say, is that the reason why there's no men in daycare, or are there other cultural expectations?
I thought it was because people in daycare just get paid like shit, and for some reason we've decided that women are more willing to accept shit pay.
Well, I was going to go along the lines of people think that men are not trustworthy looking after children.
There's that too. Would you trust your kid to
daycare is probably a bad example there. Hairdressing.
No, I think it is. Daycare is shit pay, but I do think even if it was good pay, I would place a bet that there'd be more women doing it. I don't think changing the pay is going to make it even.
I don't think it'd make it even, but you definitely get more. You definitely get more men in there than now if it paid better.
You get more people.
Yes, you would. Yes, you would, because more men would probably we still have to understand we've only recently shifted from the the world of the men being the main worker in a household, and now
True.
we are in a society where both parents work. That's only a new thing still. Like, as much as it's pretty standard and pretty accepted today, it's still kind of new. And I guess the thing of why women probably tend to have lower paying jobs is they only had to supplement their partner. So it was never they had to go out and work and earn a massive amount of money. But that's obviously changing. There's definitely people completely changing that, where women are, earning the bulk of the income for the family, and a man's doing a lower paying job. There would be families doing that. But I would say that's probably a minority still, and probably will remain a minority. I don't see that changing that much. But I think, yeah, if daycare or more female industry jobs, if the pay went up, I don't think you would still see you would see it flip to being more men doing it.
I don't think it would flip, and I wouldn't want it to flip.
Well, Sweden found a similar thing with engineers. They made it as easy as possible for women to enter into engineering, and they found that women still didn't enter engineering to the same level as men did.
Here.
Yeah.
Was it University of Sydney gave women an extra 5 or 10 ATAR points for engineering over men?
I hadn't heard that, but fair enough, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm currently doing an engineering degree, and there has maybe been like a handful of women in my course, and they've all received way more assistance than most of the men in the same class, and it's not increasing. If anything, it's decreasing the number of women. And
I have to ask, are the women who do engineering somewhat weird?
No, they're normal.
Because like male engineers are weird.
Yeah, that's true.
So when Tom says that they're normal, he means normal by engineer standards.
Yeah.
Given he's an engineer.
Yeah.
Or going to be.
Biased opinion.
I've heard it said that if you're a woman going into an engineering course and you want to find an engineer husband, the odds are good, but the goods are odd.
Wow. Wow.
Sorry, Tom.
He's not sorry. He's not even slightly
very
sorry.
Accurate.
Oh, fun.
I'm trying to find that now, but when they did oh no, they didn't give them a bit. Here it is. University boasts female enrollments in male-dominated subjects after lowering the ATAR bar.
Mm-hmm.
So women could get into the degree with a lower ATAR than men.
It's not going to help.
It's not going to help at all. I'm in agreement with Tom on that.
You got to also
there was a 109% increase in female enrollment.
End up dropping their degree. Like most people, they end up passing an engineering degree, and that means the ones with the low ATAR are probably in that majority. If they've got people in low, it's just setting them up to fail.
It's almost like they need the support much earlier in their education.
No, they just need a lot of encouragement to do something that they just don't feel like doing, because everyone thinks that they need to do it so there's more people, an even mix. But we don't need the even mix. It's, give equal opportunity and then leave it at that.
If you can do the job and you want to do the job, that should be all the qualification you need.
Yep. And there shouldn't be a goal to make everything equal, because...
That being said, I can understand why people would say that there are barriers in place.
I mean, it might equal out over time, like David was saying before. It's society's only just shifted. It might take a century or two for it to fully equal out in some areas, but you can't force it, because trying to force it is just going to, put people in positions they don't want to be in.
No.
Well, good ideas, ambitions, all of that sort of stuff. It's like a fart. If you have to force it, it's shit.
Oh, look, when it comes to that sort of thing, I'm of the opinion that a lot of the reason is much earlier on in individuals' education, and it has a lot more to do with cultural issues more than anything else. Because if you have people like, if you have 10-year-old girls that say, when I will grow up, I want to be a marine biologist or whatever, and then you have, the sexist uncles say, oh, don't you want to be a housewife or something? But you have more than just the sexist uncle saying it. You end up with, over time, that dream ends up getting beaten into oblivion in their head.
But that becomes, as you're saying, that's a cultural issue.
It is a cultural issue, and I think that's what really needs to be addressed. So I agree, this whole quotas thing is completely missing the mark. I just think we need to fix society and have people be less shit, but that's not realistic.
I also think that cultural thing is happening a hell of a lot less than what the media likes to say it is. Like, people generally don't not encourage kids to do good things like that, regardless of their gender, unless they're really messed up people.
One thing I've noticed from politics too is how many women would actually feel safe in that environment. How many women would actually feel welcome? Like, we've in my political party, we've been making a concerted effort to involve women more in our decision making, because we know we have a problem. We know that we're basically just cranky old men, and we also know that because we're all cranky old men, we have a great tendency to fight amongst ourselves rather than actually get stuff done. So we're trying to involve women, but we often find that the environment in which we are is very competition, very zero-sum. That's the nature of politics. One person has to win, one person has to lose. And there isn't a great appetite among women to enter into things like that, where they would naturally build consensus, which is a better way to do politics to begin with. So it's just a process for us of, creating an environment where women feel safe and where they feel heard, and where we can continue to build consensus.
Yeah, that's fair. I can't fault you on that.
I get what you mean by, like, how would a female who wants to be an engineer feel doing an engineering degree and being the only woman in the room?
With a whole bunch of socially awkward dudes who the most they've seen of a woman is on a screen.
Who are desperate to help her out and give her all the answers.
Yeah, and if you give someone all the answers, how are they supposed to learn?
Exactly.
How are they supposed to appreciate their achievements?
I've seen some pretty sad guys in class trying to get their attention.
Yeah.
But that comes back to culture again. The culture of the socially awkward men.
Yeah.
Yep. Socially awkward men. Fun.
Hasn't been as much of an issue since, COVID, because I don't think I've even gone to a class since that. Everything's online now. It's great.
I'm so glad I did my degree before COVID then. I'm
Well,
not
I prefer it online.
Distance education is a great tool to have in the toolbox, but it's not right for me.
Look, I still have to go there to do physical things, labs and stuff, and next year I've got a final year project which is going to be entirely physical, so I've got to have to be there. But the actual lectures, I don't need to go there for that. And that was like 90% of my time there.
My degree could have been done entirely online if I really wanted to at the time. That was technically an option.
Same. Well, no, I don't think mine was an option, but might have been. But I remember I could do catch-up lectures anyway.
They offered it via distance education. It was technically an option.
Yeah.
If I have lectures online, then I can do, like, if the lectures are like live lectures but online, I can do it. But if there's no lectures and it's all just do the coursework, that's when I find it difficult.
Yep.
Yeah, it does help when they're a live lecture online. I have noticed a difference between that and the recorded one, because you get people asking questions and they kind of clarify things as they're going through. It makes a huge difference.
It's the most fun. I can goof off in the lecture and it's hilarious.
Oh, look, speaking of goofing off in lectures, my politics lecturer at uni, he had an almost perfect resemblance to Colonel Sanders. So guess what? The entire Everyone that took the course that semester all bought KFC to the last lecture and just sat in there and just ate it. Didn't say a word about it, just did it.
I have seen the lecturer that looks like Colonel Sanders. I think I know the one you're talking about.
Jono, funny story is that's how I started. I ended up with a Twitter account.
Colonel Sanders.
One of my no lectures. One of my classes, they would everyone started getting Twitter, and they made it so we started using it to tweet about the class while we're in the lecture.
Oh no!
We could all
Oh,
tweet.
dear.
It's like what Tom said. You know, it was like a communal. You know, everyone could ask. People could ask questions. You could. It was kind of funny because people would make jokes and memes while in class. It was great.
Oh dear.
Definitely made it more engaging.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. But yeah. Oh look, this guy was pretty chill about it. He used Yum Foods brands for all of his examples. For those that aren't aware, Yum Foods is the parent company that owns KFC. So he didn't actually have to use KFC as the example. He just say Yum brands. Which, you know.
So what
makes
you're
things funny.
saying is he didn't care. He loved it.
He really did love it. His lectures were finger licking good, which you should not translate into Mandarin and then back to English. Do not to do that.
It always sounds bad
I
enough
have
in
to do
English.
it now.
I know you have
Yeah.
to do it now. That's why I said it. It should come up as something like "so good you'll eat your fingers off" or something. That was racist.
Is it done? Finger licking. All I'm getting is finger licking good.
Oh, maybe they fixed Google Translate.
Probably. It's still terrible for Latin though.
It used to be that it would translate to "so good you'll eat your fingers off," which, you know, probably not great to have your slogan if you're trying to launch a brand in China.
Yeah.
Oh, what about Come Alive with the Pepsi generation translating
Oh,
to Pepsi brings your ancestors
Yep.
back from the dead.
and in a culture where the dominant, it's not really a religion, but they're into ancestor
Philosophy.
worship. The dominant philosophy revolves around ancestor worship. Yeah. Not good.
I should make a small caveat: ancestor veneration. There is a difference.
Look, to all the white people that are not watching, it doesn't matter. Oh, fun. Well, we might wrap up there, as we're well over an hour, and almost 65% of the frames have dropped because NBN bad. So next week we'll be talking about how bad the NBN is and how Malcolm Turnbull is the worst person in existence.
I agree, but for different reasons.
I don't know. Tony Abbott's a bit higher for me.
Have you seen the way the man chows down on an onion? That man's a saint. He's a hero.
Oh, look, he chows down on an onion much better than Peter Dutton chows down on a Dagwood dog. Oh, fun. So yeah, like, subscribe, do all of that stuff, or don't, whatever. It's a free country for now.